If you've managed to roll the credits on Hinako's adventure in Silent Hill F, you probably already know that things aren't really as they're supposed to be. The game's relatively short runtime is in line with the franchise's traditions, which means that you're going to want to dive back in for a New Game Plus playthrough, and perhaps even a couple more in order to get everything you need to make sense of the story and more. With multiple endings, new cinematics, bosses, weapons, and collectibles to find in Ebisugaoka, calling it a day and moving on to your next game is arguably the worst way to experience the game's story. But why is that so? That's what we're here to show you. Let's dive right in. Every end is a new beginning. The different endings that you can achieve are probably the most important aspects that justify playing through Silent Hill F more than once, twice, or even thrice based on just how much you'd like to learn about Hinako, Foxmask, her parents, and even Shu in one of the endings we found quite memorable. Of course, each one is bittersweet, with one notable exception, and really subjective. Each of these conclusions to the tale gives you a lot to think about, and you really must unlock them all to figure out which one of them actually fits your interpretations of the story you experienced. It all comes down to how you want to see Hinako rebel against her family and society's wishes, and see her take control over her own agency. It's brilliant that Konami and Neobards found different ways to bring haunting themes and twists to each one. We already know that rolling the credits for the first time paints her as the most dangerous monster of the story. She was her own worst enemy all along, her substance abuse leading to her falling to the darkest corners of her personality. She came to see even her own friends, once an outlet for her anger and frustration, as threats to be callously removed from the board. Her suspicions extended to Foxmask, implied to be a future husband from an arranged marriage she may have been forced into by her parents. But would Hinako, whose kindness and concern for the people around her, resort to such violent means? It was seriously clever of Konami to make the red pills be the cause of her violent tendencies, bringing substance abuse into the chaos of a rebellious teenager's mind. Having players locked away from the potential endings was a great way to make them have a red pill moment of their own, after all. But, of course, the first ending you get is probably the worst one of the lot. It's typical Silent Hill, and the fact that New Game Plus is your ticket to more nuanced, complex ones is kind of par for the course at this point. With new cutscenes giving you new perspectives, new items that unlock new possibilities, and new quests that can help unlock different story beats, you're certainly going to want to take a few more runs through Ebisugaoka. There are 3 other endings to Hinako's adventure, each bringing opportunities to further reflect on Hinako and her troubled family dynamic. Does she relent and give in to her parents' wishes, leaving her old life and friends behind for a new one with Foxmask? Does she reject her marriage and take control of her own destiny? Does she manage to reconcile her good and bad sides and come out stronger for it? At its heart, Hinako's story is one about having control over your own life and choices. Extending that choice to its player is an absolutely fascinating attempt from Konami to break the fourth wall in a manner that's both subtle and so well integrated into the story it's trying to tell. It's up to you to take control and decide what you want to do with what the game gives you. Choosing not to engage further with the story is also an option by that logic, but doing so locks you away from experiencing the true potential of what Silent Hill F brings to the table. And like Hinako, it would be a shame for you to make choices that lock you away from better things to come. Despite your own agency, not choosing to have another go at the story isn't really an option. But the story and endings are not the only reason you should dive back into Silent Hill F. Armed with knowledge. It's brilliant that in a story about agency and an individual having the power to shape their own destiny, going back to it with the knowledge and tools to actualize that control becomes an option. New Game Plus lets you retain your faith levels, stats, your omamori, and a few key items. That lets you take on the adventure armed with all the knowledge you've accrued along with a better grasp of its combat and your own build. But it doesn't stop there. There are new items to discover, and new collectibles, which could potentially lead you towards one of the aforementioned endings. There's also the Lost in the Fog difficulty option, along with altered enemy difficulties, and even a few new bosses which are tied to individual ending routes. You're not going to derive all the value you can get from Silent Hill F's price tag if you choose not to go past the first ending, as only subsequent playthroughs let you explore and engage with all of this additional content. It's also quite a challenge to avoid using red pills, since it's a requirement on one or two endings, ensuring that Hinako doesn't fall prey to her more violent tendencies thanks to her substance abuse. With new areas to explore, new questlines and lore drops, and an increased level cap, New Game Plus and maybe even another run or two are exactly what you need to get the most out of your time in Ebisugaoka. I'm particularly impressed by how Konami and Neobards encouraged players to engage with a combat system that many thought would take away from the Silent Hill experience. You're going to have to use its mechanics quite well, and perhaps stock up on valuable healing items in your inventory, if you want to avoid using red capsules in a run. That means a solid grasp of the combat system's foundations and a willingness to dive deeper into enemy animations, attack timings, parry windows, and the optimal use of focus and sanity to come out on top. It's a clever way to stay true to the franchise's traditions, while also putting the spotlight on its new mechanics. Revisiting the story with all of these intelligent tweaks means that your second time with Hinako could look, feel, and play out like a different game altogether. There's also the detail that more endings unlock as you complete them, leading you to dive right back in for another run. Like the dark world that Hinako visits at crucial moments, Silent Hill F is designed to reel you into Ebisugaoka's twisted world, and keep you there for as long as it can. You might argue that designing the game this way takes control away from the player, forcing them to experience the game a certain way when they first take it on. And I'd agree, but it's a minor loss of agency at the outset in exchange for a much better payoff in the grand scale of things. That trade-off is what makes each playthrough of Silent Hill F special. Knowing that Hinako could be her own worst enemy if you don't take the time to nudge her along a better path makes the experience more immersive and engaging the next time you play it. It's an excellent intersection of everything that makes the franchise as popular as it is, and it's done so effortlessly that you don't see its beauty until you roll the credits for the first time. Stepping stones to success. Konami must be commended for achieving such a fine balance between the many elements that build a survival horror experience. The adventure is baked into the game's environments, mechanics, and story in a way that stays with its players long after they witness each of its endings, even the returning UFO gag one. It's a haunting examination of how one's mental health relies on their own determination and the discipline to pursue what they hold most dear. For Hinako and the ones guiding her through the darkest corners of her psyche, it's about pushing past fear and becoming better as a result. Silent Hill F is not just an examination of Hinako's crumbling mental state. It's about how one can overcome their own insecurities and rise above them as a result. As anyone who has faced such struggles can attest to, it's about trying and failing, only to come back stronger and more self-aware as a result. Konami has cleverly captured that loop, and its latest addition to a beloved franchise takes things up a notch as a result. Hey, did you know that we at GamingBolt upload new videos every day? Stick around, drop a like, subscribe, and hit that bell, and let us know what kind of content you'd like to see in the future with a comment below.